Can a simple part change the course of an entire season? Ferrari is about to find out. After a chaotic start, with double disqualifications in China and a car that has proven temperamental and inefficient in real-world racing conditions, the Maranello team has decided to take a bold step, introducing a new floor to the SF25 during the Bahrain Grand Prix. But will it be enough to stop the ongoing disaster? Stay tuned, because in this video we'll break down this update, understand why Ferrari reached this point, and analyze whether this technical move can restore the competitiveness they so desperately need. In addition, we'll discuss the real reasons behind Hamilton's disqualification, the pressure on Fred Vasseur, and the media firestorm that threatens to destabilize the Scuderia from within. And do you think Ferrari is about to rise again or sink further? Let me know in the comments right now. Ferrari's 2025 season opener has undoubtedly been one of the most chaotic and frustrating in recent years. What was projected as a new era with the addition of Lewis Hamilton has transformed into a veritable minefield of technical errors, penalties, and internal questions that call into question not only the team's ability to compete, but also its organization and ability to react to adversity. The most alarming aspect hasn't been the lack of podium finishes, but rather how basic the errors have been, unbecoming of a team with Ferrari's track record and resources. In the first 3 rounds of the calendar, Australia, China, and Japan, the SF25 has not only failed to prove itself on par with Red Bull, McLaren, or even Mercedes, but has also shown an alarming tendency to lose performance when it most needed it. In Australia, Hamilton was barely able to score a few points after a dubious strategy left him out of contention for the front positions. In Japan, Leclerc achieved his best result so far, a 4th place, which, more than a sign of recovery, demonstrated the limits of a car that can't compete with those at the top when pushed. But the lowest point came in China. What happened at the Chinese Grand Prix was a technical scandal of historic proportions. Both Ferraris were disqualified after the race. In Leclerc's case, the car was under the regulatory minimum weight, just 1 kilogram below the 800 kilograms limit, but still enough for the FIA to impose the disqualification. Most worrying was that this deficit occurred after a front wing change that, apparently, was not adequately considered when weighing the car at the end of the race. But Hamilton's case was even more revealing. His car was penalized for excessive wear on the plank, or wooden board under the car's floor, which is used to ensure that the cars don't run at an illegally low height. Measurements showed wear down to 8.5 millimeters, when the minimum allowed is 9 millimeters. Most seriously, these infractions were not due to chance factors or marginal errors. According to Ferrari itself, these were direct consequences of a miscalculated height setup, stemming from a lack of data under real-world racing conditions, especially with Hamilton's car. During pre-season testing in Bahrain, the Britain's car did not complete a full race simulation due to technical issues. This meant the team arrived in China without sufficient information on how the SF25 would perform with full tanks and high dynamic loads in dry conditions. This information gap was combined with poor management of the setup change between the sprint race, where Hamilton won from pole position, and the main race, where adjustments to maximize pace ultimately compromised the car's legality. The excessive wear on the floorboards was proof that Ferrari pushed the car to the limit without truly understanding where that limit lay. And in Formula One, ignorance is no excuse. The FIA was blunt, and Ferrari had no choice but to accept the penalty without appeal, losing valuable points that would have made up for an already difficult weekend. Added to this is the public frustration of team principal Fred Vasseur, who not only had to face the press after a double failure, but was also forced to respond to accusations of internal tension caused by a team order between Hamilton and Leclerc that was misinterpreted by the media. Vasseur alleged that FOM manipulated the narrative by broadcasting only part of the radio exchange, leaving out the moment when Hamilton voluntarily suggested letting his teammate pass due to grip issues. The broadcast portion, however, showed him refusing to obey, creating an image of chaos and lack of leadership that didn't actually exist. Ultimately, Ferrari's technical disaster at the start of the season is not limited to on-track errors. It reveals flaws in the team's operational management, strategic planning, and internal and external communication. Every element, from data collection to media narrative, has exposed Ferrari to fierce scrutiny that not only jeopardizes its season but also its credibility as a leading team in Formula One. And in this context, any technical update like the one we'll see in Bahrain is not just an improvement. It's a lifeline. Faced with the operational collapse Ferrari has experienced at the start of this season, the technical response couldn't wait any longer. After the disaster in Shanghai, the engineering leadership at Maranello has decided to accelerate an update that was planned for later in the calendar. A new floor design for the SF25, a piece that not only represents an aerodynamic evolution but also constitutes Ferrari's most tangible hope of turning around the course of its season before it's too late. This solution isn't the result of desperation, but rather a development that has been in the making since late 2023. During winter testing, Ferrari had already been working on several floor configurations aimed at improving downforce generation efficiency under the ground effect regime, the cornerstone of the current technical regulations. The concept now being implemented at the Bahrain Grand Prix is a refined version of one of those experimental designs, and its main objective is to allow the car to operate lower without incurring the excessive plank wear that has so plagued the team so far. The new floor incorporates three key areas of intervention. First, the Venturi channel's critical structures under the car that channel airflow have been modified to make them taller and more efficient. This seeks to generate additional vortices that not only increase downforce but also stabilize the airflow and reduce the car's vertical oscillations. Second, the outer edges of the floor have been completely redesigned. They now feature a narrower, more controlled profile, reducing lateral turbulence and improving aerodynamic sealing, a vital element for maximizing downforce under the car without compromising stability in fast corners. The third major change is the relocation of the car's center of pressure, now slightly forward compared to its previous position. This change has direct implications for cornering balance. The SF25 had been accused of chronic understeer issues, especially on tracks with medium and high-speed corners. This realignment should improve the car's rotational ability at the apex of the corner, offering a more precise feel to the driver, particularly during aggressive entry and weight transfer phases. Interestingly, this technical update not only seeks to improve raw performance but also to expand the car's operating window. The SF25 until now has been extremely sensitive to any change in ride height, forcing the team to operate with a more conservative setup to avoid penalties like those in China. But this higher riding configuration has drastically reduced the effectiveness of ground effect, creating an unstable and less competitive car in qualifying and race pace. If the new floor allows the car to be operated at a lower height legally and safely, Ferrari could recover between 3 and 5/10 of a second per lap on certain circuits, enough to challenge McLaren or Mercedes again. Of course, implementing a new floor is no simple task. Changing one of the car's most sensitive parts mid-season involves risks, especially when it comes to the correlation between wind tunnel data and on-track performance. Ferrari knows this, but they also know they have no other choice. This isn't just any upgrade. It's a complete restructuring of the SF25's aerodynamic philosophy. A move that defines the team's character: either react decisively or let the season slowly bleed out. The choice of Bahrain as the venue for this technical debut is also no coincidence. The Sakir circuit features a demanding combination of heavy braking, high lateral load corners, and long straights. It's an ideal environment to decisively measure the impact of the new floor, as any improvement in stability, traction, or aerodynamic efficiency will be immediately visible on the timesheets. Furthermore, Ferrari's recent experience at this circuit, combined with the data accumulated during pre-season albeit incomplete, gives them a solid reference against which to compare the car's performance before and after this update. This move is also a test of fire for the driver duo. Both Leclerc and Hamilton have expressed frustration with the car's lack of consistency. For Hamilton, who has already been heavily criticized by the media following his disqualification in China, this will be a crucial opportunity to demonstrate that he remains an elite contender, capable of maximizing the performance of an evolving car. And for Leclerc, it's a way to regain confidence in a project that, from the outset, has been plagued by broken promises. So what's at stake goes beyond technical success. It's about team morale, the confidence of its drivers, and the public perception of whether Ferrari is truly ready to fight for the championship, or whether it has once again become trapped by its own limitations. The new evolution of the floor isn't just an aerodynamic improvement, it's a statement of survival. And its success or failure will set the tone for the rest of the season. When a team like Ferrari reaches a critical situation like the one it faces in 2025, any technical update, no matter how promising, ceases to be a simple improvement tool and becomes an existential gamble. And that's exactly what the new SF25 floor represents. It's not just another evolutionary step, it's a technical and emotional ultimatum for a team that has been oscillating between expectation and frustration for years. Because if this improvement doesn't work, Ferrari will not only lose performance, it will lose credibility with its fans, its rivals, and perhaps even more dangerously with itself. Bahrain will be the turning point. It's not just about scoring points or climbing the constructors' standings. It's about sending a message that Ferrari isn't broken, that it has direction, that it can react under pressure and redesign its destiny in the midst of the storm. The problem is that this message depends on everything working perfectly during one of the most tense moments in recent years. If the new floor doesn't perform, if the ride height issues persist, if the driver still can't find confidence in the car, then the 2025 season won't just be compromised. It could fracture from within. And that's no exaggeration. In recent weeks, the pressure on Fred Vasseur has increased exponentially. Although he has firmly come out to defend both the drivers and the technical team, the truth is that internal patience is beginning to erode. The mistakes made in China were too basic, too visible. The management of the configuration change between the sprint and the main race made it clear that Ferrari has not yet mastered the fundamentals of operation under the current regulations. And when a team starts to fail at the basics, any attempt at innovation becomes a shot in the dark. Adding to this is the growing media narrative surrounding Lewis Hamilton. Following his disqualification in Shanghai, multiple outlets and commentators have begun to question his continued status as a top driver. The criticism, though often unfounded, has begun to influence public perception of the Ferrari-Hamilton project. And while Vasseur has stepped up to refute these accusations, the pressure is real. The Briton needs a car that allows him to compete at the front, not only for his legacy, but because Ferrari cannot afford for its star signing to be trapped in an unstable and poorly managed machine. But Hamilton isn't the only one at the center of this game. Charles Leclerc, the Scuderia's natural heir, also finds himself at a crossroads. Despite his loyalty to the team, the lack of tangible results has led him to shoulder increasing internal pressure. His fourth place in Japan was, in context, a heroic but insufficient effort. If the new surface doesn't unlock the SF25's true potential, both Leclerc and Hamilton could find themselves trapped in a downward spiral that has consumed other talented drivers in the past. Ferrari's history is replete with great names who arrived with dreams of glory and left empty-handed. Furthermore, the impact that another failure would have on the team's overall morale cannot be ignored. Engineers, strategists, mechanics, everyone is working against the clock and under a level of stress that is not sustainable in the long term. If Bahrain becomes another disappointment, not only will points slip away, the belief that this project can succeed will be shattered. And when that happens, the recovery is no longer just technical. It's emotional, structural, and cultural. Ferrari doesn't just need a good car. It needs to believe again that it's capable of winning. In that sense, the implementation of the new floor is two sides of the same coin. If it works, it could be the catalyst for a powerful recovery. Ferrari could get back into the conversation for podium finishes, even wins if conditions allow. The driver's confidence would be boosted, Vasseur would gain political leverage, and the team would regain its position as a contender. But if it doesn't work, then we're not talking about a failed evolution, but the beginning of a structural crisis at Maranello that would jeopardize all planning for the post-Binotto era. Therefore, what we will see in Bahrain is not just a technical test. It's a test of character. Ferrari has invested time, resources, and hope into this update. And now, every lap Hamilton and Leclerc perform will be watched not only by what the clocks say, but by what it represents for the team's immediate future. Reborn or give up. That's the real choice. And in Formula One, there's no room for indecisiveness. And so we come to the moment of greatest narrative tension in this story that has escalated from a hesitant start to a crossroads that could define not only Ferrari's 2025 season, but also the direction of its long-term project. The introduction of the new floor on the SF25 isn't a simple technical advance or a half-second per lap improvement. It's a direct statement from Ferrari to its critics, its rivals, and above all to its own history. Because Ferrari doesn't race to survive. It races to dominate. And this move is in essence a rallying cry. We've analyzed in detail the crisis context the team is experiencing. A lethal combination of operational errors, a lack of data correlation, technical disqualifications, and a tense atmosphere that has sapped team morale. We've also thoroughly analyzed the elements that make up this new evolution of the floor, its aerodynamic implications, its risks, and the level of commitment involved in testing it on a circuit as technical and demanding as Bahrain. But the true core of this story goes far beyond the millimeters of chassis height or the location of the center of pressure. What's at stake is the soul of Ferrari. Because when a team like this, the most iconic in Formula One, reaches the point of being forced to reinvent itself mid-season, it's no longer just about performance. It's about pride. It's about responsibility to a fan base that refuses to compromise. It's about not allowing the glorious past to become a shadow that paralyzes rather than inspires. And in that sense, this new floor is more than a piece of carbon fiber. It's a symbol of struggle. A tool to recover lost ground but also to reclaim the narrative. To stop being the team that reacts late and return to being the one that sets the pace. In this video, you've seen how Ferrari has reached the brink of technical and emotional collapse and how it's trying to leap forward with a solution that, while not guaranteeing immediate success, at least restores something essential: initiative. Now the ball is in its court. The SF25 with its new floor faces the most relentless test of all, the track. And now I want to know your opinion. Do you think Ferrari will manage to stabilize its season with this update? Or are we seeing the beginning of another debacle that will be remembered as yet another missed opportunity? Leave it in the comments and let's fuel the debate together. If you enjoyed this in-depth analysis, be sure to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell. Because what's coming next won't end here. Very soon, I'll bring you an exclusive analysis of the internal earthquake Red Bull is experiencing following the departure of Liam Lawson and the arrival of Yuki Tsunoda. With conflicting statements, tensions with Verstappen, and a silent war between corporate interests, this video promises to be explosive. So stay tuned. Because in Formula 1, the track isn't the only place where racing takes place.